one by one. So the first speaker, or first panelist I will say, we have amongst us Dr. Aruna Bhuta. Dr. Aruna, I know it's tough for you to come on the stage. As you can see here, her introduction doesn't need anything. She is one of the most sought after clinical psychologists with about 40 years of wisdom, knowledge that she brings in all together. Apart from everything else, with so many achievements to her credit, she is the president of the Sambhavta NGO, which is uplifting the mental well-being of the citizens of India, and also the president of the National Academy of Psychology. She is a columnist. She has conducted many television shows, radio shows, and she does a lot of work, especially on the children's altogether. And I had a chance to meet her, and I'm sure you'll have a chance to listen to her very, very passionately about it. Thank you very much, Dr. Aruna. Our next panelist today with us is Dr. Avdesh Sharma. May I request Dr. Avdesh, please step forward. As you can see, Dr. Avdesh is not only a qualified psychiatric but also a well-being psychiatrist, he calls it, with 35 years of wisdom, knowledge, experience, whatever you like to call it. He also co-chairs the World Psychiatric Association on Spirituality and Mental Health, and he's a founder of the Mental Health Minds Vision and Rahat Charitable Trust. Various awards to highlight and call out few, which are very prestigious, is IGPI 2016 Award for Outstanding Contribution to Psychiatrics, TV Jhunjhunwala Foundation's 24th National Medical Excellence Award. And apart from everything else, he's also a very creative person. He's directed films, and I was told when I was trying to do a little bit of a research on Dr. Avdesh that he had a special mention by the jury, which was which decides the awards in the Dada Saheb Phalke Award. And one of the films that he directed was on the Indian handicrafts altogether, and he was recognized for the film that he directed altogether. So give a round of applause one more time. We have Dr. Pratap Chauhan here with us. Dr. Pratap, please come. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here with us. Dr. Pratap is, if I'll be surprised if someone has not seen him on the television. It's almost every day on the television. Dr. Pratap is one of the founders of Diva Ayurveda. He's also the member of the Advisory Committee, Ministry of Health, and he's very, very, works very extensively outside the country also. And he also chairs one of the prestigious positions in the National Ayurvedic Medical Association of the United States of America. He's a winner of the World Summit Award from United Nations for e-medicine. Jiva runs what we call is entire e-telemedicine. So have you here with us. Our next panelist today is Dr. Sami Panic. Doesn't need any introduction. What a pleasure to have him here with us. Dr. Samir is a practicing psychiatric, but apart from everything else, one unique thing is which I couldn't do in my life, and I'm sure many of you can do, is topping the university in life. How do you feel about it? A topper amongst us. Wow. Dr. Samir, that's very unique about you, I can tell you, right? And he's also the chairperson of the Fortis National Mental Health Program, one of the strongest and the largest team which works in the area of mental health across the country. He also runs an initiative with Fortis, which is called the Fortis School of Mental Health Program, which reaches out to 3,000 schools in the country. And they work in the area of life skills with the children in these schools altogether. Apart from everything else, he's a known media person. He's very active on the social media. He's also authored a book called Let Him Not Shrink, and that's the book about how you deal and how do you work with children altogether. So if you haven't caught hold of the book and you need to learn how to deal with the children, that's a book that highly recommended for all of you. And Sister Shivani will come for us a little later. we are ready to go live on the panel discussion, and I will just like to start. I know I'm going to catch hold of a mic here. Yeah, that's a mic here. So yeah, sorry, my apologies. We were confused with the slides here. We also have the opportunity to invite Mr. Yogesh Chaudhary. He told me, don't call me doctor, and I need to understand why he tells me not to address him as Dr. Yogesh Chaudhary, but Yogesh ji, please come on stage with us. It's a pleasure to have you. Apart from all these things that you see on the slide for him, as you can see, Yogesh ji has about 55 years of wisdom with him. So if you see on the panel today, we have a little more than about 250 years of wisdom standing for all of you. All right, sitting here for you. And apart from everything else that I will talk about Yogesh ji, he is an engineer graduate, first of all. Engineer graduate. He is a trained hypnotherapist. He is a homeopath for a little more than 48 years now. And he practices, or he is a practitioner of clinical hypnotherapy, life therapy, past life regression therapy, spiritual hypnosis, crystal therapy, Reiki Grandmaster, and he also trains in psychic surgery. Alright, so you've got to understand what the subject is all about. The idea is to confuse a little bit and then make it a little easier for all of you as we go from here. But the most interesting thing about Yogesh ji is that he's developed a very unique technique for treating body organs using regression therapies while the client is under the hypnotic trance. So that's his super specialization. So as you can see, there's a very, very unique panel. Everybody is very unique in the subject that we are dealing with. And our attempt today would be to see how everything is so integrated. So with that hope, I just like to request all of you one more time, give a big, big round of applause. Absolutely. Can you the sound guys? All right. Thank you very much. We have a technical problem with the sound. Most of the places in India where you go, you know. And I've traveled so many places overseas, never ever you have to take the sound in life. But nonetheless, I'm sure we are ready to go.
India is not made for technology.
Alright, that's fine. We switch on the mics here in case you like to use it, and then I can exchange the mics also. So the opening question to the panel today would be, and anyone can go, but what's happening on the mental well-being? What's the broad trends emerging? What's the big picture emerging as far as mental health is concerned? Dr. Abdesh, you like to go with that? Like to take it up? Yeah, sure.
You know, first thing.
Sound देंगे please. Podium panel के ऊपर please.
Physically healthy person having a mental problem and vice versa. It all goes in sync. So there is a continuum of physical, mental, social, spiritual, economic, occupational, universal. I think we need to focus on mental for two reasons. Last about 25 years, the number of people having problems in the area of mental health, so to say, has jumped manifold. So the number of people who need treatment has jumped so much that we are only involved with them. Unfortunately, it is others, and when I say others, it means, and I'm speaking as an allopath, we start feeling that medicine is given only by allopath and everything is others. So they are called alternate therapies or complementary therapies. Somewhere the challenge is to bring them all under the same roof, number one. Number two, get rid of the barriers. Number three, make it available to each and every person in a cost-effective manner, which I mean that haves and have-nots all have a mind and all have a right to mental health. Let's not forget that. And the fourth, probably the biggest challenge, is how to reach them in a way that they can utilize and in a way that the society can uplift. Unfortunately, the mental well-being space at the moment We only look at individuals. What can I do to one individual to improve that person's health? But the fact is that unless we can rise together as a society, we will never be able to catch up with the numbers. And we will have to move away from the illness model, because you may have symptoms, but you can still have mental well-being. And I think somewhere those who are sitting on this side at this point of time need to make it easier for people to be able to grasp that fact that your mental well-being is in your hands, it is not in my hand. Each one of us is empowered. How can I only help you to improve that empowerment is the challenge. It exists, it can be taken control of people, we need to only be guides for that, and I think that's the biggest challenge.
Thank you very much. Dr. Ram, you...
I know that the number of people who say they are not adjusting to their environment, buying refrigerators and ovens and video games and things like that. So we are very materialistic. Or that we could flaunt our child with 90% marks, the way I flaunt Dr. Sami Panic, that he is my topper child. And others, my children get very offended with this statement, then they tell me, go to him, then don't stay with us, right? So I think that well-being word is very grossly either misunderstood or not even recognized. And in a very disguised way, it comes out with psychophysiological or maybe physical symptoms. And it's very important that, Anurup or Tony takes this forward. I don't know how you really thought of this word well-being, because everybody thinks well-being is to have the latest car or the latest mobile, but nobody understands that the guy sitting, the moment I sit in it, I'm still unhappy. I'm not kicked or anything like that, because my material need goes a little beyond what I have. I think I wanted to bring that up first to signify the relevance of today's meeting. And all the clients that come to me for counseling, I think none of them realizes what is intrinsic happiness. And let me say this to Shivani ma'am, that there are kids that are following you now, but little do they understand how to balance the material to the spiritual of what you talk. So I think today's meeting for me is very important, that I'm able to make it to reach out to as many, though I know all of you are not the guys to be reached out to, you're already elite and very aware, that's why you're here. But I would like to reach out to people who are mundane in material things. I think for me that is very important. But what Dr. Avdesh Sharma ji said, that we need to integrate the approach, is very important. And there was a time, I'm vintage out of all of you over here, so let me talk of the vintage times. Psychiatrists would feel very unhappy if I were to talk, that do pranayam, do walking, it creates endorphins in you. Try to understand your body's limits and higher thought processes, and they would say, I'm outdated, I am orthodox, I'm old, and I'm not embarrassed in saying that if I tell at any generation, the university crowd, that why don't you do some pranayam, and they say, oh no, not you. Right? That's what our grandfather says, and that's what our father says. And I say, okay, no pranayam. Would you like to do deep breathing? Yeah, that we can do, because that's more American. Okay, and everything that is in America is the best, according to the youth. So I think I started with that and brought out the concept of the self. So no doubt, all approaches to the development of the inner self When they integrate, will we be able to talk of well-being? I think that is very, very, very important.
Thank you, Dr. Aruna. Dr. Samir, from your perspective, when you are at the hospital, what's the big picture? What's emerging on that side?
Very difficult to speak after. Very difficult to speak after Dr. Durga has spoken clearly, right? She has more years in practice than probably I was in school. Yeah, not my age. I'm quite old now. I think it's very important for us to understand that the field of mental health has been largely stigmatized, and stigmatized far too long. And the reason why it was stigmatized was the recognition of the biological aspects of mental ailments was not understood. And this is a reality which needs to be very clearly understood. We need to appreciate that the first medication that came in the world came in 1952, accidentally. A medicine called Largectil, which now is obsolete. Yeah. Now, try and understand this. So, which basically means that before the one antidepressant or one antipsychotic sleep medication actually came to the world, you had nothing. So, what did you have? You had all kinds of practices, from isolation to torture to completely it's not about non-scientific, it's about inhuman treatment that generations have gone through. Stigma, discrimination, isolation is what has happened. What has changed? What changed was the fact that mental health is a science. When I talk about mental health as a science, I'm looking at neurosciences, I'm looking at psychological sciences, social sciences, of course medical sciences, so on and so forth. What that did was that it brought healing in the true sense. And here what one needs to understand is that yes, we need to enhance well-being. Yes, we need to focus upon prevention as a strategy, no doubt about that. But to be able to implement this strategy of prevention, which will take its own course of time, the millions of sufferers need to be given the right kind of help at the earliest is also what needs to be understood. This year, the World Health Organization's annual theme was on depression. Let's talk. Because 300 million people globally suffer from the illness. It's the single largest illness in the world. It's something that we also need to simultaneously appreciate. So when we talk about that, yes, we are amongst the larger systems providing mental health as a comprehensive science in India. What is unfortunate is that there aren't too many systems, because fact is that healthcare providers, be it in the public or the private sector, have not been able to recognize their responsibility towards mental health. Let's be very clear about this. So whilst we talk about all prevention and well-being and goodness and everything else, which is important, it's also important to be able to understand that we need to provide for care, effective treatment, so that people who are suffering, unaware, people where help has not reached, people where some basic guidance, few sessions of counseling, few guidance or life skills training, a few tablets, and that could have made a difference between a quality life and something that was being lost. And that's the statistics we need to understand, because whether we like it or not, 1 in 5 people will suffer from a mental illness in their lifetime. Whether we like it or not, suicide is the 8th highest killer in the world. Depression is the single largest illness in the world. And the fact is that adolescent suicides have quadrupled in the last 2 decades. It's the 3rd highest killer in the adolescent population. Those are facts. So whilst we look at prevention, in the last 90 seconds an adolescent committed suicide. So we need to find out a way to stop that from happening also. And that's where I come back. I think not just the governments and the NGO sector and everybody else, society at large, but I truly believe that healthcare sector needs to find a way to provide for mental health. And I do believe, because 80% or more healthcare and mental health lies in the private domain, it's my belief that private healthcare providers need to figure out a way to reach out to the areas where mental health services are not available. To give you a statistic, and this is only a psychiatry stat for you, 13,500 is the requirement of psychiatrists in India. We have less than 5,000 psychiatrists in practice, out of which 80% of them are in urban metro cities. So unless you ensure that you reach out to the right areas, discrimination continues, stigmatization continues, and you still have a lot of media, entertainment media, which continues to glamorize in mental health in ways where it's either some kind of healing or some kind of voodoo and nothing in between. So I think that approach of ensuring that those struggling and suffering right now, and help needs to reach them right now, that onus also has to be there whilst we discuss about mental well-being.
Thank you very much. Before I move on, let me give a little bit of and we can hold the applause for the eve. Last में सबसे आखिरी में तालियां बजाएंगे. Committee report is the latest report available of WHO. 56 million Indians are suffering from depression, from mental health, and they need a professional mental assistant by a psychiatrist. And if I to give you more number, 38 million Indians, as of now when I talk to you, more than that, are suffering from anxiety disorder, which is roughly about 7.5% of Indian population needs a professional mental health. Alright? Let me scare you a little bit, but these are facts. As per the WHO report, 36% Indians during their lifetime will suffer a mental disorder or an anxiety disorder before you and me die. Now think of a situation, crorepati, lekin anxiety is there. Multi-millionaire, but he is 2.5% people working in the corporate are suffering from depression or anxiety disorder. And one of the reasons is lack of sleep. Less than 6 hours of sleep causes these issues. One of the reasons, and we'll understand more reasons as we go forward from here. So I'd just like to move to the panel back again. Yogeshji, if I have to ask you and invite you, right, let me come that side and say, how do you describe mental well-being? Let's move to the subject. How do you define in homeopathy? In homeopathic, how do you define mental well-being?
Homeopathy or hypnotherapy?
First we start with homeopathy and then we'll go to the
69.
Get the mic closer.
I never thought that I could do without allopathic medicine for the last 40 years. Because the first symptom that is described in any homeopathic medicine is the mind symptom. Then comes the head, and it keeps going down the body. Heyman did a great job, and I admire him. But it is not that I don't admire the allopaths, because my gallbladder was also removed by the allopaths. When it failed, it burst. But since that last time that I took medicine or had the operation, I am only surviving on homeopathy without the gallbladder. So every time you have anybody has a mental symptom or has the mind symptom, we call it, we don't call it a mental symptom, we normally prescribe a homeopathic medicine which meets not only his mind symptoms but all other symptoms. But if one medicine is matching the mind symptom, we would prefer to give that, because mind controls the body. That is the belief. And that has, I would say, worked a lot for me, my family, my friends, all of them who contact us. We try to help them, but we do not practice it professionally. I do it for myself only. My wife is a registered homeopath, apart from doing her own doctorate in English literature long time back. But she prescribes, and we are all surviving in the family. Just to share the statistics of the cost of 4 people in my family, I have not spent more than 10,000 rupees for the last 40 years. If that is in any indication about the costs of health. You may believe it, you may not believe it, but it is a fact. I cannot share more than this.
So we'll come to that. Thank you very much. Thank you. Dr. Pratap, now to speak and say.
So it's always good to speak in the last. So it's a very interesting subject, and before we want to understand what is mental well-being, it's very important to understand what is mind. How many of you have a mind? Now if I ask you a question, what is mind? I don't think many people can answer that question, because people are talking about mental well-being, people are talking about statistics, like why so many people are having depression. In Ayurveda, which is not a very well-known science to we Indians also, we think Ayurveda is some jadi booty, some herbs. Tony ji was explaining that the human system is very complex. There are 25,000 enzymes, 7 layers, 7 chakras. There are, very subtle things. Where do I find this knowledge about the human system? It's not complex. The problem is we don't know where to read about it. If you have an iPhone or you have a television, there is an instruction booklet that comes along with that. And in order to understand that gadget, you can actually read that booklet. You can also understand why it works, how it works, what to do when it is not working. So what is that instruction manual for this human being? Have we ever tried to find out? This is existing. The word Ayurveda itself, if you analyze, you can break up into two. The word Veda, we all understand, the word Veda means knowledge or science, they say. What is Ayur? A very beautiful definition in Charak Samhita is given. Sharirendriya Sattvatma Sanyog is Ayu. Means a combination of body, mind, senses and soul. This is what we are talking about. And out of these four, we are talking about mental well-being. So Ayurveda also describes what is mind. Where is it located? How does it function? What is unhealthy mind? What is healthy mind? What causes the mind to be depressed? Today we see that it's not only rich people are depressed, even poor people are depressed. Even young people are depressed, old people are depressed. It does not, limit to any one particular category. So that means there is something very, very common in all of us, which I will talk about today. Because in Ayurveda, before we go into anything, we want to know what is the cause. What is the root cause of that problem? And then solution is very easy. So mental well-being, of course, in Ayurveda is very well defined. The definition of mind, manyate avabuddhate gyayate anil iti mana, very beautiful definition. Describes the mind is that which thinks. There is something in each one of us which continuously is thinking, which contemplates, which is responsible for knowing. That's why mind is also called the bridge between the external and the inner. We're talking about going from out to in. How do you go? You go through the mind. If mind is agitated, if mind is sick, you cannot enter into the inner. That's why people want to meditate, they want to calm down. Mindfulness, awareness, all these things are going around in the world. But really, can we really make the mind quiet? Is it possible? Because the very definition of mind says that mind is that which thinks. It has to think. If it doesn't think, it's not a mind. So today I'll explain you something more from Ayurveda. It's very easy, very, very easy to take care of mind, but you have to understand what is mind, what causes this depression or anxiety or any other kind of disturbance in the mind, what is that energy in the mind which is agitated, and how do you bring it back into that balance. This is the principle of Ayurveda, and I would like to mention that we in our clinics we work on this. In fact, one type of treatment in Ayurveda is only dedicated to mind, which is called Sattva Vajra Chikitsa. Unfortunately, a lot of Ayurvedic doctors also are not taught about this in our colleges, so that's why it's not so popular. But I'm sure we can definitely find a solution, and especially working with different types of doctors, including allopathy, because we do need sometimes instant relief. I am not against allopathy. Allopathy is a wonderful science, especially when it comes to instant relief. Many times people come to us, they are in a miserable condition. So if I start working on their mind, and they will not be able to, get better. So allopathy is also needed. Integration is needed. We need to work together. And just finally, I would like to mention, because we're talking about mind, human beings are predominantly made up of mind. This body is just a manifesting area where things manifest, which are originally generated in the mind. That's why in Sanskrit the word is manas, and from manas comes manushya, or in English also man or woman. It all comes. That means we are predominantly mind. We are not these bodies, because the body just does what the mind tells it to do. So it's very important. We have to understand the mind, and it's very simple. I just tell you in advance, don't worry. We don't have to say anymore, it is very difficult, it is very big problem. It's not a big problem. I will also explain you how it is not a big problem.
Sure, thank you very much. I'd just like to move to Dr.